Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of the We Believe to You Paranormal Podcast. I'm Eric.
And I'm Michelle. And today's guest is going to be an interesting one. I'm going to let him introduce himself a little bit later, but before then, I know you have a story for me, Eric.
Yeah, I just want to say he reached out to us because he
Oh.
and wanted to be on the podcast. So again, anytime anybody reaches out to us and wants to be on here with us, like I'm all for it.
We want to hear your stories.
Yeah,
because
sure. we believe
to you. All right. Well, I want to hear this story that you got for me because it happened to Valeria. So I'm interested.
So it was kind of interesting because I don't remember. I think I had just gotten back from work or something. I was sitting in the living room, like working on my stuff, and ended up getting like a text, and she's like, "Come," and I was like, "Okay." So like, what's going on? So I kind of freaked out a little bit. I ran over to the room, and she was still laying in bed, and I was like, "What's up? What's going on?" And then she starts, telling me about this dream she had, and I mean, so we've talked about how you and I haven't really had any dreams with grandma yet, right? And so she ends up telling me that she's, I guess, she's in a room, like there was this whole other lead up to it, but it was just this weird, she was at this house and it was like a party type thing, and then she was up in this room, right? And she ends up she's in this room, and then dad comes in, I guess, and then he says, "Oh, you're with the baby," but referring to Fluffy.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, grandma's the one that always used to call Fluffy the baby.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of weird, right? So
it's
then
kind of like the dream that I had.
And then dad tells her that, and then he goes, "Oh, this is the room where my mom died." And then like Valeria turns around and she's like, "Oh yeah, it is." And then she ends up I guess like turning around, and I guess grandma was laying in the bed. And then all of a sudden, like, grandma starts breathing, and she kind of sits up. And to be honest, I can't remember what she told. Oh, she told her that she was hungry. So she asked her, "Okay, yeah, sure. What do you want to eat?" And so she starts like when she tells me that, she's like, "I right now when I woke up, like I had it so vivid in my memory. Now it just kind of went away." But she was, giving her a list of things that she wanted to eat, and she asked for like lentil soup and some other stuff and some Doritos, I think. And then so she ends up turning around, and she sees dad, and dad has like this mask on. Like, hold on. Okay, sorry. I just got to go ahead to tell the story, so now I can say it without
whispering.
Yeah. So she ends up getting.
He puts on a mask.
Yeah, no. She turns around, and his eyes are painted, like kind of like how Batman paints his eyes under the mask to make them completely black, kind of like that. And she ends up waking up, and then so she wakes up, or she thinks she wakes up, or she really did wake up, and so anyway, so she's laying there. Like sometimes we'll sleep back to back, but like touching.
Yeah.
And so she kind of like scoots back a little bit, and she feels me laying next to her. And then so she's like, "Okay, I don't," and she was like, she didn't realize at what point I had gotten into bed. And all of a sudden she says she heard me cough. And she was like, "Wait." And then she like leans back more, and she doesn't feel anybody in the bed with her anymore. So she felt like somebody was laying next to her in the bed.
Ooh.
Yeah. So that's why she was like, "Come." Like,
yeah.
I was like, "Okay.
Get your ass over here right now."
but she says that she doesn't know. Like, she feels that she was still asleep, and
Mhm.
that maybe that she heard me cough is when she actually woke up.
Woke up. Yeah.
But I think for me, that's kind of like her. She's trying not to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
She's trying to be like that's her logical explanation for what
Yeah, for
happened.
why she felt what she felt. So I don't know. I don't know if she felt like if grandma was like in like laying there or
Mhm.
what it
Something
was.
else.
Yeah, I'm hoping it wasn't something else.
Yeah, yeah. Hmm. Well, I recently had a dinner with mom the other day, and she actually told me. Remember, I think I told you that she had a dream with grandma in
Yeah,
it.
but you
But
couldn't remember. I think you said.
yeah, well, I didn't realize she never even actually told me what happened in the
Mm,
dream. But we had dinner the other day, and she told me. She said that she walked up to this house with you and I, and we were little kids, like I don't know, 10 and 7 or some shit. We were little kids, and we walked into this house, and she didn't recognize the house, but it was just the house that we walked into. And then there's a little girl there, and she like I guess the little girl walked up to us and walked up to mom and said something to her, and then just walked away and walked into a door, but walked through the door, not like opened the door and like closed it behind her, but like a ghost like walked through the door. And mom was like, what the hell? And then all of a sudden we were grown up, like our current ages, so we were adults now. And mom walks over to the door and opens it, and it's grandma. And but now she's like older, like how she was when she passed. And that's how mom like got to give her kisses and got to give her hugs and talk to her for a little bit. And she was saying that yeah, it was just like a super vivid dream, and she doesn't know who that little girl was. And I was like, well, maybe it was grandma,
was a
like
little girl.
as a little
Yeah,
girl. And but I mean, I guess we don't really know what grandma looked like as a little girl. um But yeah, that was mom's like visitation dream that she had with grandma. We were there, but not really, I guess. But that it was really nice because she didn't get to like she wanted to see her on Mother's Day, but it was only like one visitor a day, so I was the one who did. So she didn't really get to say goodbye and whatnot. But that was she felt that that was her opportunity to say bye.
yeah,
All right. Okay, guys, so today we have Wajid Hasan on, and I read through his book, and I want to talk about that, and I'm sure we're going to have a lot to talk about today. I'm really excited for this interview, for this conversation, but I'm going to let you introduce yourself a little further because I don't want there to be anything that I miss. But yeah, so if you'd like to give us a little background of who you are, what you do.
Yeah, thanks, Michelle. Thank you, Eric, for having me on your show. Um, I was um, I was born in Pakistan, and my parents they moved to England when I was 3, and I lived in the north of England till the age of 10. Then they moved to London. From there, I went to high school in England, in London, primarily in the East End of London. Uh, had my formal education, got into the technical field, and worked as a field service engineer for a number of years in southern England. Then moved to the States in the 80s, primarily Los Angeles. Lived in Los Angeles for over 30 years. Got out of the technical field, got into comedy and acting, worked as a union actor for 20 years. And then recently moved to Raleigh, North Carolina. I've been here since 2018. And currently on your show talking about paranormal and UFOs and all kinds of fun stuff. So that's where I'm
Yes.
at.
it's a very interesting life so
Yeah.
far. I mean and that's just the tip of the iceberg from what I'm hearing. So I'm excited to dive into this. To what is your life?
S- So, I always start the podcast asking our guests this very specific question, and then there's a second question that I'll ask later on. But the first question that I always ask is, what was your very first paranormal experience that you can remember?
I think being born was my first paranormal experience.
Yeah,
um,
okay. Yeah.
I've had a few paranormal experiences. I was, based on a past life. I was born fairly psychic, and when we moved from Pakistan to England, my parents were very poor. It was two older brothers, a younger sister, my parents, and so we went on buses and trains. We didn't go on any airplanes or airports, and it took us 5 weeks. And I don't recall it, but at the age of 3, um, my brothers, they used to ask me if the train that they were waiting for was going to come on time, and I would say yes if it was, and I would say no if it wasn't, and I was always right. So
Mm.
I guess my first paranormal psychic experience was at the age of 3. I could predict trains coming on time or not. So from there, I had, I think, a very vivid one was at the age of 6, where I was playing in the school playground, and I could see psychically a UFO land on the playground on another dimension, and I could clearly see it with my psychic vision. And so it really intrigued me. It didn't scare me, but it really intrigued me. So even at that young age, I knew that flying saucers, or the people who man these spacecraft, sometimes are actually living in higher dimensions, which are actually not possible for us to see unless we're psychic or we can tune into them. So even at that younger age, I started getting visions, and then of course it moved on to other experiences as well.
So, do you still did you I know, for a lot of children, they kinda almost, like, grow out of those psychic abilities. Like, did that happen to you? Or did you have other people telling you that what you were seeing wasn't real, or, things like that, and kind of subdued those abilities? Or have you continued to hold on to those even to today?
I've continued to have different paranormal experiences. It's very interesting that you should say that, Michelle, because children also remember their past lives when they're very young, and research has shown that as well. And I'm a firm believer in reincarnation, and they have glimpses of their past lives, and they talk to their parents about, they were in this particular house or in this particular um, relationship or in this particular country, and they're always, the parents don't understand. They always think they're in some kind of land of fantasy. um,
Mhm.
Even at a younger age, I remember glimpses of a past life that I had, um, being a yogi in a cave in the Himalayas. I remember having a long hair, tall, long beard, sitting in lotus posture, and I remember those visions. And so a lot of children have these visions of past lives, and because the parents don't understand, they think they're either in a fantasy world. And so, uh, of course, as they grow older, they get you know they get I guess they kind of conform to their present life, and then their past life visions disappear. So that to me is another indication that reincarnation is a fact, and it's something that I think also that should be taught worldwide, because first of all, it'll take away this aspect of the so-called inequalities of life. Why is somebody born poor, why is somebody born rich, why a 3-year-old can play the piano, and some little 2-year-old is born with cancer. So all these things are parts of our experience of life, of reincarnating, coming on and off this planet, learning experiences, different races, different religions, in order to gain mastery of our inner selves and rise up and become, conscious spiritual beings that we're supposed to be. So that's a good question there, Michelle. Thank you.
I 100% believe in past lives and in reincarnation. Especially, I mean, I think if people actually looked into it a little bit more, they would see and hear and read about all these experiences that these kids are able to um, retell, bits and pieces. And there's, I mean, even recently where they're able to connect, a kid's story with a person who actually existed in the military. This is one that I'm thinking of. He was an air fighter and ended up going down, I think in World War II,
Yeah, I
or
remember that
like,
story. Yeah,
or yeah, something like that.
fascinating,
Yeah,
fascinating. Yeah,
yeah. So
and
Why do you think
also,
it's
yeah,
no,
go
go
ahead,
ahead.
Eric. Also, people will think twice. We live in such a turmoil these days. There's all this hatred between religions and races, and people will think
mhm,
twice when they went to war or order to go to war, that the people they're going to kill could be somebody in their father or mother or sister or brother in a past life. So I think that teaching is critical in the Aquarian age. I really do. Absolutely, yeah.
yeah.
Why do you think it is so difficult for people to open themselves up to the idea of, you know, past lives? Like,
Part of it is belief. Part of it is belief. They've been raised with this particular belief, particular religion that tells them there's only one life and that's it. And so, it's dogma. They've been indoctrinated with that belief. I don't know if you guys know, but some Christian, researchers themselves are coming up with the fact that about, I think, 700 years ago, uh, reincarnation was actually taught in the Christian religion. They actually took it out. The Roman Catholic Church took out reincarnation deliberately and put this one life to live in order to control the masses. So even that was taken out. So um, a lot of it is fear and a lot of it is ignorance, and people are not open-minded enough. I think people like yourselves and myself, we've had experiences, paranormal experiences ourselves, recollections of past lives, and so for us it's kind of a no-brainer, but for other people it can be very. I remember telling this a good friend of mine, wonderful woman, but I told her about this the Christian researchers talking about reincarnation, and she just totally froze up. She says, "Don't believe everything you hear." She just wasn't open minded enough to listen. So I think it takes a certain amount of bravery to open up your mind, open up your intuition, and your intuition is the greatest lie detector ever created. I wrote that in my book, and so if we open up our intuition, we can discriminate between the lies, the untruths, and the truths.
I just think it's funny that people are so willing to, and I guess I don't know, this might, I don't know if this will get cut out, but I just think it's funny how people are so willing to throw their faith completely into something they've never seen before, yet something that has been proven time and time again. We've seen many people experience these things, or
Even
there's,
science has like started to go,
and they're just not willing to
Yes.
open their minds to that. It blows my mind because I mean, I'm not going to say we were ever super religious, but obviously we were raised Catholic. But um as we've gotten older, we've opened our minds to different things. We've had different experiences, so for us it's kind of like, well, how can I deny things that I've experienced in the past? So
Well, yeah, absolutely, Eric. You can't, people can put you down, but you had those experiences. I know I've had these experiences. I don't have to explain to anybody. I had a very amazing experience at the age of 18 directly with a UFO, and I kept it to myself. I only recently I opened it up and wrote it in the book, but to me, I didn't need to tell anybody. I knew I had that experience, and so yeah, people. And then you talk about faith and religion. I was raised as a Muslim. I went to the mosque and read the Quran and did the Arabic prayers. At the same time, I went to a Church of England schools where we did Bible study and hymns and carols. And I love both aspects of that faith. But I found them very nothing against Christianity or Islam, but when I met my own yogi master at the age of 16, I knew there was more, based on my past experience, there was more to life than just the dogma of organized religion. So, I expanded my, uh, ideology and my faith. And then again, based on my own research. So, what I want to tell your listeners is don't take everything for granted. Do your own research like I did, and with an open mind, and you'll find that you'll get tremendous amount of revelations, like I did and you guys did as well.
As just real quick, as somebody who has, I mean, you said you've read the Quran, and I mean, you went to a Christian school. How similar are the two books, or how diametrically different are they? Is there any similarities between the two?
I believe that all the religions are the same. I think they came in different
Hmm.
times, different cultures. They all take they all teach the same spiritual
Yeah.
principles. Thou shalt not kill, be kind to your neighbor, be charitable, and it's those aspects that people bypass, and they listen to
Right.
the indoctrinations and become radicals in this religion and radicals in that religion, and that's got nothing to do with the religion itself. All the great teachers, their teachings were all the spiritual teachings were the same, just given in different times and places. And so there was no, I didn't see any fundamental difference between Islam and Christianity. Different types of teachings, but all the spiritual laws are the spiritual laws cannot be changed, and you know things like being kind, doing prayer, helping another. I mean, those things are universal. They just cannot be changed at all. And the problem is people are not following them these days. They're killing in the name of religion. They're killing in the name of race. And so it's not a case of going back to the ideology. It's going back to the spiritual laws, which have been laid down by all the great teachers of all the religions. Don't you guys agree?
Oh yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've literally just talked about this, if not the last episode, the
I think it was
previous.
the last
But
episode.
yeah, but I mean, it's a topic that comes up whether we're talking on the podcast or just in general. I mean, yeah, I'm grateful that my brother and I are kind of on the same page with, organized religion and the way things that have kind of played out.
And
Um,
it's funny too, because it's not something that we ever talked about growing up together. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like
Mhm.
we had similar experiences as far as the church is concerned. I think I distanced myself a little bit before my sister did. But it also, I guess, has to do with the fact that I'm older. So like I got to the age where I was just like, yeah, you know what? I'm not feeling this. And then my sister just kind of kept going. I feel like just kind of from my mother. Yeah. And then at some point she as well just kind of, went
I
her own
mean,
way, and we still have very similar feelings towards organized religion. I mean, I personally, I feel like, hey, whatever you want to believe in, that's great. um but there's no reason for you to, like, again, I grew up Catholic. I have my beliefs right now. I have my beliefs now, but I'm not, just because somebody's Muslim or somebody's Christian or Jewish or Buddhist or whatever, it doesn't mean that I'm going to hate them for what they believe. Like, if that's what they want to believe, then I respect that. You believe what you want to believe, as long as we're treating each other with
kindly
respect
and
and
respect.
kindly. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And I feel like
Exactly.
that's what's most important,
Yeah,
So,
exactly. And and then there are people who follow the religion who are very, very nice people as well. I mean, my
mhm.
mother's a devout Muslim, wonderful woman, and I've met people from other religions. So each person has their own individual path. Some maybe a little higher, some maybe a little on the different levels, but all in all, it's all one path back to the original divine source. absolutely.
So, I I didn't mention the book title, so I'm gonna do it now and then ask my question. But, so in your book, The Struggle for World Sanity, um, there is one part in particular that, or well, honestly, even it's more so in the beginning, I kept getting deja vu, almost as if I had read the book before, which is very interesting because I mean, I know for a fact I haven't, and I couldn't figure out why. I don't know. It was very weird, but I kept getting little moments of deja vu, which I found very fascinating. But I know that you just mentioned also that you didn't talk about your UFO experience until the book, and I know it because I read it. But if you could share that experience with our listeners and with Eric as well.
Yeah, I was 18 in London at the time, and I got this strong feeling uh, that I had to be somewhere, and I couldn't pinpoint what the feeling was. And then the third day, I couldn't ignore this feeling. I was just being guided to be at a certain place, and I got out the map of England and I started tracing my hand over England and to trying to pinpoint where I needed to be, and then finally my finger stopped at this place near Stonehenge, a town called Salisbury, and I knew that I had to be there that Friday at midnight. Don't ask me why, but I did, and I didn't know why I had to be there. So, of course, I didn't tell anybody, and I took the Greyhound or the coach that they call them in England from London to Salisbury, and I got there night at 10:30. And so I walked down these country lanes for an hour and a half, and then finally, close to midnight, I was by this farmhouse near a farm, and I jumped the fence. It was a place called Clearwater, and as soon as it was midnight, I looked up in the sky, and I saw this large circular disc object move uh, slowly in the sky uh, from the south to the north, and I knew I was exactly where I needed to be. And then I waited, and then around 1:30 a.m. another disc-shaped object moved from the east to the west across the sky, and to me it signified the sign of the cross. And the cross, as you know, is a very holy symbol. It depicts the ascension of man. Um, through experience. It's much older than Christianity. It goes way back. The Egyptians used it. Other civilizations have used this cross. So I thought it was very significant that I see this extraterrestrial craft, and they're giving me a sign of the cross. And then at 3 a.m. exactly, a much larger craft, and this wasn't a physical, this wasn't a psychic apparition. This was actually very physical. A much larger craft came over and stopped and hovered over where I was. It was about 100 feet above me, and then I could see this white flash of light come from the hull of the craft, and I was filled with this tremendous energy, this beautiful energy. How long it was, I don't know, but my feeling at the time was that the people who controlled this spacecraft were not only scientifically advanced than us, but also extremely spiritual. And that's the feeling I got. And I don't think it happens by chance, and I don't think the experience was designed primarily just for me. And I felt that, like I say, I didn't tell anybody for many years. But when I wrote the book, I felt it was time to let people know that there are beings who are extremely advanced, who have watched us for millions of years, and these are the beings that that my own spiritual yogi master, Dr. George King, was in contact with, and uh, and have been watching us and observing us and protecting us for many years. And it was very interesting to note that when Dr. King, my yogi master, was contacted by these beings in the 50s, there was a tremendous amount of flying saucer activity around the planet. And it was at the same time that we started exploding the atom and hydrogen bombs. And it was known by them that we were not only destroying the earth, but we were at the brink of destroying civilization again. and so they absorbed a lot of that radioactive fallout and actually saved us. So these are actually people who do care about us, and so that to me was again a personal experience that I didn't tell anybody about. But I think if people keep an open mind, they can realize that we're not alone and that we are being taken care of and watched over by these wonderful, who I refer to as cosmic masters.
And I just want to be clear for our audience as well that at this point, there's no way that that could have been a drone. Like, this
Yeah.
was, because I know people are always going to try and like, oh, well, this and that.
Everything's a
No,
drone.
yeah, yeah. There's no way this was a drone.
Well, that happened in the late 70s, so drones weren't even around.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah,
I just wanted to be clear for our audience. So guys, it was not a drone. I think it's kind of curious too that your psychic sort of how do I say it? It's always time based. You know what I mean? Like uh first when you were younger, the trains being able to predict, it's based on time, and then now, when you were trying to, like, when you were going over the map of England, it was a specific time that you
yes,
needed to be at a certain spot.
interesting
I yeah,
observation. I didn't even think
yeah,
about it. Yeah.
yeah. So, and I was going to ask if you've ever had any sort of psychic apparitions or anything like that, to whereas like you were looking back in time or forward in time at all.
Well, like I say, I had visions of a past life. I don't think I've had any. Just like you, Michelle, and I think a lot of people also. We all get deja vu, and so I think deja vus are very important because um, I feel that sometimes our life is kind of destined in many ways. And I don't think it was by chance that you read the book. The other day, I was with some friends and we were in a restaurant, and I just got a deja vu that I've been in this restaurant before and I've been talking to these people. So I think our higher self has premonitions or recollections or predeterminations of our future, and we see those. You know, I remember my sister. She had a vision of being in Peru at a festival, a Christian festival, when she was 10 years old. And when she was in her 30s, she went to Peru and she saw the exact same festival. So sometimes we see things that are meant to be in our lives. So it's a question: is our life predetermined? I know that before we're born, we pick our high selves, pick our parents and our environment and our conditions that we need in order to, have certain experiences. So deja vu and premonitions, I think, are a part of our path in life to tell us that either we're on the right track or we're on the wrong track. It's a very fascinating subject.
That kind of hurts me to a certain degree, because like I just feel like when for example, like when kids have just the most horrible parents, like our father unfortunately did, having growing up, it's like you just hope that that's just horrible luck that they ended up having that. But to hear that, you select your parents before, it just kind of like, oh man, that's so. But again, it's without those experiences, I think my father wouldn't have been the person that he grew up to be. And
Exactly.
then,
And the father that he was to
yeah.
teach us and then kind of keep passing that down.
So I mean, it's very unfortunate that that is the case. But um
It's
damn,
for
that's
a
just,
reason.
yeah, yeah,
No, I
it's
agree. My
crazy.
father was very strict, and I didn't really like our relationship, but it taught me many things. And sometimes some of the worst experiences, you become more wiser and empathetic than if you were just raised with a silver spoon in your mouth and you didn't have those
Hmm.
experiences. So they probably made you more compassionate, more wiser people. They certainly have with me. The so-called bad experiences, I think, teach us more. uh,
Yeah,
Pain is
definitely.
sometimes a very tough teacher, but it does make us better people. That's for sure.
Yeah. Um, I had a question regarding, so when you spoke earlier of seeing um, UFO, I guess earlier in your life, you said that it was in a different dimension. And then speaking about the ones in Stonehenge, you're like that was very physical, or they were like here. Were they kind of different aliens? Like what? How do some stay in that dimension versus some come are able to be in our dimension? Like what's the difference there?
That
Why is that?
that's a great question, Michelle, because like you said, as science is advancing, people's intelligences are being insulted when we're being told that there's no such thing as UFOs or aliens or life on other planets. It's just ridiculous now. So I don't want, most people laugh at the government or the press now when they question such things. And there's so much evidence for UFOs and the existence of life. Um, Dr. King wrote a book in the 1960s called "You Are Responsible," and he was, as a yogi master, he was able to project from his physical body on his astral body and go to different dimensions and visit these advanced civilizations. Now, if you study Hindu and Buddhist philosophies, we know that even on this earth that there are levels above us and levels below us. Dr. King says the 6 levels of dimensions above us and 4 levels below us, which are termed the lower astral realms. And so this is just on this planet. So if you look at different other planets, they have the same dimensions, probably not lower realms, but they do have higher realms. So he was able to project to places like Mars and Venus and converse with higher civilizations on higher dimensions, which again, we can't physically see unless we're psychic or we can project there. And so I agree with the scientists. You can probably go to Mars or Venus or Saturn or Jupiter in a physical spacecraft and probably not even see any life. And Dr. King said you could be on Mars for 100 years and not detect any life because they're and quantum physics is recently has explored different dimensions, different parallel universes. And so we're not even aware of the dimensions, we're not even aware of the nature spirits that control the weather, never mind different dimensions. And only the metaphysician who studied these dimensions know about it. And it's the same with other planets. So they can come from a different dimension and materialize on a physical level. So they can actually, from their higher dimensions, they can come onto the physical level and have a physical spacecraft. And then they've been seen sometimes to appear and then just disappear and go back to another dimension. So that explains why I could physically see them on this level, and then psychically I could also see them on another level as well.
It's
Does
very
that
interesting.
does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah, for
Hmm.
sure.
I mean, my mind's being blown right now because I didn't even think about it that way. Like, like there could be life on Mars, just not in this dimension. You know what I mean? Like
That we can see
yeah,
with our
it's,
physical eyes. Yeah, I actually I never thought of it that way either. So
yeah.
yeah. Um but
Well, I mean, if you
uh,
look at terrestrial science, these days, basic terrestrial science with a global positioning satellite, you can pinpoint anybody on the Earth who has a cell phone. That's just basic. And now, if you amplify that millions of times, you're looking at craft that can go to different dimensions, that have computerized systems that are millions of years ahead of us, that can probably pinpoint every single live stream on the planet, probably have a complete history, they say, of our past, present, and future. And so we're going beyond the realms of science fiction. They say sometimes,
yeah.
you know, uh, truth is stranger than fiction. So some of these truths about the capabilities of these beings and their spacecraft is beyond our thinking. Is beyond, we can't even. I think some of even the highest terrestrial scientists will not be able to figure out their technology because they're millions of years advanced than us. So
Mhm.
it's something that's. I think I think it's a great sign of hope for planet Earth, and that's another reason I wrote the book, because right now we're in such a turmoil. We have these endless wars, we have famine, pollution, and we have political ideology, the right against the left. We have an economic system that favors a minority becoming millionaires, and everybody's into slave labor. And so I can't really rely on on the warmongers or the generals, but I can look up into the sky and get inspiration, get power, get spiritual healing that was sent through me, and these beings are sending this energy not only to me but to everybody who looks up and asks for this energy. And I do believe that, along with other people, that there is a great spiritual renaissance occurring on this planet, a quickening of vibrations, and within the next few centuries, we're going to see a beautiful dawning of a new world, a new age where all this stuff that we're going through will be dispelled. And so that was another reason for writing the book, was to give your listeners hope that there is light at the end of the tunnel, and we don't have to uh, stay in this misery and mire that we've actually created by our own
Yeah,
inactions.
yeah. And I reading your book, a lot of your message just overall was very similar to a previous guest that we had on, Craig Lefebvre, who had also written some books. And I mean, the similarities as far as, there's something big coming, to, kind of be prepared for that, and um, raise your vibrations, and all that. It was like kind of validating to read yours. Is kind of, similar concepts as well. And one thing that I it did your book did give me hope too, because I can't. Well, okay, sorry. So let me get my thoughts all in order. So in chapter 6, like, what you started with was saying that a lot of people these days don't feel like they belong here. Like, they feel like an alien on this planet. And I know that for myself, um, I feel that a lot, that I'm just like, "Get me off this planet." Like, I don't need material things like a lot of people do. Like, they want the biggest, the best. They need the money, they need this, they need that, and I'm like, I don't need that." Um, but it's like almost like we've gotten to the point where we do need it to even just survive. But I know that you had also ended up talking about that we were from a planet from, like, Melbeck, if I'm saying that
Yeah,
correctly,
correct, correct.
and all that. And it's just like, I don't know, for me, I'm like, yeah, it would make sense that I'm not that this feels not like home,
Home.
or like I just wanna, yeah, just not be here. And it's never gotten dark where I was like, I, had suicidal thoughts, but very much like, I wish an alien would just come abduct me and take me away already, because like, I can't handle this. And I know Earth is meant to be difficult because we're supposed to learn, but yeah, that feeling of not feeling like you belong here, I guess, if that makes sense. I feel like a lot
Yeah,
of people are.
uh, I think our superconscious mind remembers everything from our initial birth, billions and billions of years ago. So deep down in us, again, we'd have to advance, uh, ourselves in order to remember these things and contact our superconscious mind, and and raise our vibrations to the point where we can go into deep meditation like my master could do, and reach states like nirvana, cosmic consciousness, where we can remember our past lives. And he was able to project from his body and read the aura of our planet. Of course, our planet is a living spiritual being, a goddess, not just a piece of rock. And just like a yogi master can read the aura of an individual and see their past, present, and future, he could project from his body and read the aura of the planet, which people have referred to as the Akashic records. And
Mhm,
he was able to see our history. That 18 million years ago, we were actually resident on this planet called Maldek. It was in orbit between Jupiter and Mars, and it was highly sophisticated planet. Robots took care of all the menial tasks, and the Bible talks about Adam and Eve and the fall from the Garden of Eden. And to me, it's just a fairy story, but it's a fairy story with a lot of moral, because we were in utopia at one time on this planet. We had abundance to eat. We could control the weather. We were a very high civilization, and then for some reason, these scientists, the lust for greed and power, suddenly spurned, and they created a hydrogen bomb, which was 10,000 times more powerful than the one we have on Earth today, and completely destroyed the planet Maldak. And so, all that's left of our original home planet is the asteroid belt. And so,
Mm.
the Earth gave us sanctuary at that time and allowed us to reincarnate on her back. And over the millions of years that we've been here, we've had two major civilizations. First was Lemuria, the second was Atlantis, and those two fell under the waters in an atomic war. So we're also reached this stage now where again we've unleashed the power of the atom, and we're in danger of another nuclear holocaust. But like you said, like your last guest and other people who are sensitive, they know that this great change, something's happening. This change is occurring, and only those people, well, not only it's not only the Aquarian age, but also our Mother Earth is also raising her vibrations. She's been told to raise her vibrations, and so there is this tremendous change that will come in the next few centuries, and only those who are willing to rise their vibrations will be allowed to stay. The rest, the warmongers and all those people who've caused havoc throughout the centuries, they will, through death, they will be reincarnated on another planet in this solar system. The scientists have referred to this as Planet X, and we can't see it because it's on the other side of the sun from the Earth, but they know it's there. They say it's like 10 times the size of Earth, and based on the magnetic pull from Uranus and Neptune, they know it's there. And so that's the difference now. No longer will man be allowed to rape and destroy this planet. It's the beginning of the end for mankind, and it's very interesting, Michelle and Eric, that the Mayan calendar finished in the year 2012, and it wasn't the end of civilization; it was the beginning of civilization. So this is the beginning of a new era for mankind, a new where there's not going to be wars and pollution and an economic system and races and religions. It's just going to be a beautiful, beautiful new age that's coming. But we have to work for it, and the way to work for it is to cooperate with the higher beings and send out this white light of healing and help raise and transmute the whole world.
The last time we spoke about this as well, the way that I explain this, or I guess helps me understand this, is almost kind of like what the Christians call the rapture, where once like the second coming of Christ, and he's going to take everybody up into heaven type of thing. That's what this reminds me of, as far as like you know of being getting on a higher frequency to be, and everyone who is on this higher frequency will be taken to another another planet, and then everybody else will be or vice versa.
Yeah.
Vice versa,
Okay, the
yeah.
other way around. Sorry. Yeah, sorry.
They go to Planet
Yeah,
X, and
and
then
then
good people get to stay.
yeah. But
Yeah.
that's what it reminds me of. So I guess it's the other way around. They'll get raptured away, taken to you know
Planet
basically
X.
hell, and everybody else that's on a higher vibration will get to stay and live in peace.
I don't think it's going to be hell. I think it's in mercy that they will be taken through death, because they won't be able to withstand the vibrations here. So I don't think it's as a punishment. They will just be taken to that other planet to relive the histories of the bloody histories that we've created here. But it will be again a teaching. I don't think karma, punishes. I think it teaches. Sometimes it's very, very painful, but life is
Yeah.
a teacher, not a punisher, and that's what my master used to say. And you talked about the next coming. A lot of the religions talk about the Imam Mahdi, the return of Christ, and that's also been predicted by the seers of the past and the present. And Well, Dr. King, he got a message through the higher beings that yes, there will be another Messiah that will openly come to planet Earth, but he will actually come openly in a spacecraft and land openly among people. He said they'll be tall, humanoid, in a one piece suit, and he will be very tall, about 7 feet tall, and he will approach the Earth leaders, and they will ask of his credentials. He will be a great spiritual leader, and and those who don't heed his word of spiritual unification of the planet, again through death, he's not going to come to kill anybody, but through death will be reincarnated on the other planet. And this is really outstanding, that I find quite chilling. But they said that his power will be greater than the combined military might of all the armies. So he won't demonstrate anything that will kill, but one thing that he may do is like move the Statue of Liberty from New York to the West Coast with his mind. That's the kind of power this person will have. So that's
It,
those will
I just
be
got,
interesting times, because
Yeah.
we'll be alive, because we'll be reincarnating on enough Earth. So those will be very interesting times. So parting the Red Sea by Moses could be like Disneyland compared to the kind of power that this master will have. So that'll be fantastic to see.
Yeah.
I just got chills right now. But I guess for me, the easiest way to um to not
Comprehend.
comprehend.
Oh,
I was gonna say not. I guess maybe it is comprehend. Then just like
understand.
I always relate things to comic books, just because that's like the easiest way for me to, because like you hear all this, and there's just so much of this in like comic books too. It's like, it makes you wonder. It's like, do these guys know something that we don't? Because what you're describing almost sounds to me like I think it's this Dr. Manhattan from oh my god, I can't believe the comic book just left my mind. But he's this being who ended up, he was created in the like through a scientific accident, and he comes back and he's able to control like down to the smallest atom, and he can grow, like in this case he can grow to um this enormous size. And he, at one point, he just gets fed up with Earth, and he just goes to Mars and lives in a solitary life for a while, and
I
then
don't blame
comes
him.
back. And he's so powerful that he is way more powerful than all the militaries, and anything that the military has. And it just, that's when you were describing this second Messiah, that's what came to my mind.
Well, we exist on a mind belt around Earth, and people pick up these teachings from the mind belt, and they put them into comic books, and they think they're comic books, but there's always an element of truth behind it. And there are actually ascended masters that live on this planet, that they lived in the same body for like 25,000 years, and you could fire a gun at them, and it will reflect. So there are actually masters living on planet right now that defy science as we know it, and have tremendous powers. And at the same time, we also need to be advised that there are beings in the lower realms who are just as powerful as well, demonic beings who are also very advanced scientifically, not spiritually, but very scientifically advanced. And so I believe also, the comic books probably pick up on that, on the mind belt, these wars, invisible wars that are occurring behind the scene for the souls of mankind. It's an energy war. And so, they send out this black energy in order to control the minds of the masses and keep them in slavery, while the forces of light are asking us to raise and send out the white light of healing, of love, to help counteract this invisible war that's happening behind the scenes. And a lot of writers pick up on these things, and so sometimes what you may think is a comic book may actually not be a comic book. It's something that they're picking up from the mind belt of Earth.
And it's The Watchmen, by the way.
Oh, The Watchmen, the
Yeah.
comic.
hmm
Oh.
But yeah, I just find it very fascinating, very interesting because, like I mentioned before, like in the comics, there's always in the two major, which is DC and Marvel, there's a multiverse in both of them. Like there's always so again going back to what we were talking about earlier about the different dimensions and stuff like that. There's in those comic books, there's these different dimensions as well, where different versions of ourselves exist, or stuff like that. Give me one second.
Yeah, and we have to understand as well that we also were advanced scientifically and spiritually at one time on Maldek, Lemuria, and Atlantis. So those recollections also are in our mind. We've regressed to like pretty much animalistic type existence right now, just survival of the fittest. And so, again, the cosmic beings are telling us to rise and become the gods that we were. You know, it's our heritage to ascend, it's our heritage to have, old age is a curse, it's our heritage. To live as we were, as the gods that we were, and so they want us to join us. They're not telling us to do anything better. They want us to be part. We're all interrelated. The cosmos, the solar system, this planet, other planets, we're all part of the one universal life, and that's what they're trying to portray. But as far as the leaders of this world, they just want to keep us under control and in some kind of mental or spiritual slavery, or keep us in debt. And what the cosmic master is saying, if you send healing energy through yourselves, you can break away from this. I belong to a group that we do this pretty much every day. A group of people from 50 different countries. We send out the light, and it's the only solution, like everybody is saying right now, to the chaos on this earth. And if people are interested, they can go to this website, 12blessings.org, and join us. It's for free, and we send out this light on a regular basis as part of our responsibility. I think it's a responsibility we need to take, because we want to leave a legacy for the younger generation. We don't want to leave this planet to these younger children where they will live in poverty and pollution and all the terrible things that are occurring. I think as adults, it's our responsibility to send out the light.
Yeah. Well, and why do you think that this keeps repeating itself, where we ruin this planet and then we come here and like Lemurians and
Atlanteans.
Atlanteans, yeah, again repeat, and then we're doing it again. Like why have we not figured it out?
Yeah, good. That's $1 million question. I can't figure it out myself, because, yeah, why is it that other civilizations have been in peace for a million years, and this, we're regarded in this solar system beyond as a very savage, warlike race. Um, but there was one transmission that Dr. King got. He said there was another planet in this galaxy that was approached that had similar problems that we had, and they opened themselves up to the higher inspirations and teachings. And they said within 50 years, the whole planet changed. And so we're being offered again. Yeah, yeah. It doesn't make sense that 3 times in a row we've destroyed ourselves, and this time we're ready to destroy ourselves again. I don't know. It's a terrestrial mentality that's within us. I can't figure it out, because it doesn't make sense. Logically speaking, you know, I think we're being controlled by a minority of people who keep us under control, who have brainwashed us into going into war and hatred, and it gives them power. So I think their time is up as well, and they too will be transmuted and sent to the other planets. So this time, I don't think we will be allowed to blow up the planet as we did in the past. And if we try to do that, we will be stopped. We will still be allowed to war among ourselves, and we may even have a nuclear holocaust again, and we may have to go through that many times till we learn that we are indeed our brother's keeper. So yeah, that's always baffled me and a lot of people, is why are we into self destruction and
Yeah.
suffering. It's just not logical.
Yeah. I don't think I'll ever understand that. But um,
Got to
er,
break the cycle.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I mean,
I was
it happens in families.
yeah.
They just go on and on, same cycle till somebody finally says enough is enough. I don't want to be part of this, and they change. And I think the human race eventually will say, you know, we've had enough. We don't want any more wars. We have to change. And right now, we're given every opportunity to change. You know,
Mhm,
so these are good
that
times
makes sense.
in the midst of bad times.
Yeah. Well, and so another question that I had, kind of relating to these higher beings and extraterrestrials is, why is it that some people are just like completely oblivious to them, whereas others, have experiences or see them on a regular basis, or have even been abducted and things like that? Like, what is the difference in human, or is it? I mean, yeah, I don't know what's going on there.
I'm not, based on the information that I've received and the experience I've had, and the information that Dr. King received from these cosmic beings. I don't think they abduct anybody. I think that is more people being possessed in their dreams, or having psychic possession by lower astral forces. I think he asked a question once. He said. He said, if you were going to if you were going to take over the earth, how long will it take? They said between 10 and 15 minutes that they
Oh,
could
shit.
completely take over the earth.
Wow.
So I don't think they're malicious in any way. I think they're very spiritual. Um, there's so much evidence. I mean, of astronauts being followed by flying saucers. All this has been kept secret. Of retired military generals talking about UFOs hovering above the nuclear silos and neutralizing them. All these things have been made public. I think the media, again, has put this kind of aspect of fear, and almost you're laughed at if you believe that you're in flying saucers. And I think it's deliberately done to control the masses, and I think the masses are now finally realizing that we're being lied to. And a lot of people now are being open-minded. And then some, I mean, I didn't even have an interest in UFOs. This experience happened to me without even an interest in UFOs. So a lot of people just don't care anyway. They have too much on their plate with their lives and their families, so they don't really care. And then there's others that are inquiring and want to know about these things, and then there's others that have this experience. But more and more, this phenomenon is not dying down. In fact, it's getting more and more popular. So it's not going to
Yeah.
go away. They've been around for 18 million years. They're not going away tomorrow.
Eric, do you have anything?
Mm.
No. Just
I'm trying to focus and then just keep him quiet.
yeah.
So, but no, I mean, I don't know. I find it very, again, the same thing that happened to me with Craig's, when we had Craig's interview. It's just it's a lot of information, to process, and a lot of things to think about, that that you didn't even think about before, you weren't even aware of, and then just to be receiving all the information is just it's
Like overwhelming.
yeah. It's overwhelming to try and process everything, you know
Well,
what I
it's a
mean?
shock to
Yeah.
the system because you're hearing these
Hmm.
things which have never been talked about in the mainstream media. And of course, it's a shock to the system to learn that we were actually on Maldek, and we destroyed two of our own civilizations. These things are very hard to fathom and register in the conscious mind. Yeah, they definitely blew my mind when I heard about them. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think my head hurts less than before, but only because I was you
That was all
know
brand new
yeah,
information
that was
before.
brand new. So some of this is I've heard already, so it's not as brand new. So my head hurts a little less than the first time.
Uh, oh, that's good.
Well, truth is designed
Uh,
to cause, excitation in the brain cells, and And if you're not shocked, or if something doesn't startle you, then obviously it goes by your head. So it's food for thought, and certain truths definitely make us feel uncomfortable. They really do. I don't like the idea of our history, but truth is whether we like it or not. But
It
again, the good
is.
thing is, like your last guest and other people who are sensitive, they know that this great change has started. So there is light at the end of the tunnel, and we've been given tools to raise our consciousness, and so it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing.
Do these beings have like names? Like I know people have talked about like the Pleiadians and the Vesuvians and all these like different species of um beings, I guess. Or are they just like alien, or not aliens, I'm sorry, angels, would be like another kind of thing that has a name. Do these things have a name, or are they just
The cosmic masters that contacted Dr. King, they had code names. They didn't. Their real names weren't revealed, but one particular cosmic master was called Aetherius. It's not his real name. I don't know why there's this tend to have secrecy in regards to names, but they if you go to my master's organization website, aetherius.org, aetherius.org, you can read some of these transmissions from these cosmic masters. Speaking of names, they've also mentioned that some of the great leaders of the religions, the real true political leaders of this world, were not from Earth, were higher dimensional beings from other planets. They mentioned the Master Jesus, they mentioned the Lord Buddha, they mentioned the Lord Krishna. They said that Lord Krishna was from the higher planes of Saturn, and that Buddha and Jesus were from the higher planes of Venus. And so again, another shock to the system. But they talk about the Star of Bethlehem doesn't just hover over a stable. A star doesn't hover over a stable. So that's food for thought. And when the Lord Buddha was born, there was 5 disc-shaped objects seen above the skies when he was born, and when he died, there was 5 disc-shaped objects. So we have interplanetary masters that that came and started these great religions. Were we believe were not from the Earth, were from higher dimensions, other planets.
That was definitely one of my favorite parts of the book, talking about, well, I mean, I guess specifically again growing up Catholic, because every Christmas, the star and the stable, like all that. And I
And
guess
you
it
also
was
went to a Christian private school.
for like just like kindergarten kind of thing. But
Hey,
anyway, it's just, and I guess like the idea popped into my head because of like Ancient Aliens, and not that I believe everything that this show says or anything, but I know that they always talk about, there's pictures of UFOs and beings
right,
ascending from the sky and things like that in,
right.
old paintings. And yeah, this I don't know, like I'm almost more inclined to believe that that light was some sort of being and not a star. Like it being a
Yeah,
star makes no sense compared
no,
and somehow
it
this
was
makes
definitely a
makes more sense.
spacecraft. It was a spacecraft
Yeah.
that that we believe came from the planet Saturn, and was uh, did a lot of the metaphysical manipulations in order that a Venusian like Jesus could be born onto planet Earth. And even in the Bible, I'm not quite sure exactly. I think it's Revelations, but uh, Jesus said that I'm from the I'm from the house of David and the bright and morning star. What's the bright morning star? That's
Mm.
Venus. So even in the Bible, he says he's from Venus. So again, it's food for thought, which is riling up a lot of Christian philosophy. But again, it's a case of what's truth and what's lies. So I believe I'm more on the side of a highly advanced interplanetary master coming and saving the planet to to a star. Yeah, I mean, even scientifically, there's no such thing as a star that can hover over a stable. It's just scientifically
Yeah.
impossible. But a UFO hovering over the stable, I tend to believe that for sure.
Wow. Again, blowing my mind. It makes you think of things differently. You know what I mean? Like it does make a lot more sense than, you know,
It being a
I don't know.
star.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's always like really fun for me, for people to read the stories in the Bible and believe the way that they played out, but then you give them something that's just as similar, as far as like let's say saying like we actually came from this planet. They'd be like, no, that's BS. But it's like, but
Like,
you'll believe,
I guess what you're
you
trying to
know.
get at is like you'll believe that he can walk on water, but you can't believe that he was placed in the stable by a spaceship.
Yeah.
Exactly,
Is
exactly.
that, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't pick and
Yeah,
choose your
exactly.
truths. Yeah,
Yeah.
either you believe it all or you don't. Yeah, and this. Oh, we could go on, but I won't. This I could go on about that aspect, but I won't. I think we'll keep
Yeah.
it at that.
Okay. No, well, I was going to ask you if there's anything that we missed, if there's anything that you wanted to say before we start wrapping up.
um, well, like I said, we just scratched the surface in regards
Yeah,
to
for sure.
some of these subjects. Um, the only thing I can tell your listeners is that, again, I'll just repeat that there is going to be tremendous change. They're already occurring. Don't believe this climate change is to do with carbon emissions. This is the Earth herself changing, and eventually these climate changes will stabilize, and there will be a temperate temperature. There will be no such thing as spring, summer, fall, and winter. All that will be temperate climate in the future. The weather conditions will be absolutely beautiful. Um, uh, uh, in the midst of everybody's going through their own personal struggles, one way or the other. If it's not financially, if it's not mentally, if it's not economically, if it's not health wise or relationship wise, we all have our struggles right now. And the best thing that we can do in the midst of our struggles is to look up and to tune into the light of the cosmic beings, of the higher beings, and and send out this energy, send out this light. It's the only solution that's going to fix our world right now.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. And I'm just glad that we have another guest on that's saying the exact same thing that we've heard before, and that resonates with me as well. And so you're just validating even more so. So I appreciate that for sure.
And I mean, if like you said, we've just scratched the surface. So I mean, if you felt inclined to want to come back on later on, we'd be more than happy to have you back on again to discuss some further things, or discuss other things that you want, you'd like our audience to know. Because I mean, for Michelle, this is something that she's really knowledgeable in. Like, she's learned more about than I have. A lot of this stuff is new to me, so it's something else that I'd like to keep expanding my knowledge or my mind on, because all I want is for this world, for people, is for people to live happy. Just let's
At
not
peace.
fight. We don't Why do we have to hate each other? Like, I mean, because I'm not going to sit here and say I love everybody, and I have differences with people, and I can, and so I also need to learn to just try and but when I start to have those feelings towards people, it's more because of their intolerance for others. So then I become intolerant of them, or I you know, just like I have this feeling towards them because they just can't accept people for who they are. So in a way, in my head, I'm valid. Like, that's my validation for the way that I feel. But I know, like,
You could
it's
do better.
also, yeah, So I don't know if that made any sense,
No, I
Yeah.
but
totally understand. Totally understand. Yeah. And that's the hardest thing these days is to understand that we are our brother's keeper, whether we like him or not. And Dr. King made himself unpopular in the '60s when he said, "Well, we'll you're closer to the communist Chinese as you are to your children. And so that's a concept that is very hard, especially when you dislike somebody. And the only way is to send that transmuting energy of light, the LOVE. And like I say, is the only way to transmute. Bombs and guns have not worked. They never will work. Hatred and violence has never fixed anything. Never, and never will. And never will the politicians create peace as well. It's only the true spiritual leaders of this world, like Jesus and Buddha, and following the concepts of Krishna. All the basic spiritual laws is the only solution that's going to fix this planet.
But you said something there, following the concepts, like not necessarily exactly what's in the books and what you're reading, but just the ideas that are in there and taking those ideas and
Not twisting them to fit
yes.
your
Exactly.
yeah.
Absolutely. 100%.
Well, I was going to say one of my favorite things that you said at the end of the book was that the one religion that the world has not tried is the religion of love and kindness. And I'm like, yes, that would be amazing if you could all just try that. Because yeah, I'm kind of
I
overall
believe
just hate.
that's going to be the new religion of the world in the future, is service to others.
Yeah.
That's the religion we'll be following. It's the only one that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. Well, um, Wajid, thank you so much for being on the show. We always give our guests an opportunity to promote anything. I know we talked about your book, if you want to promote that again, or anything else, or where people can find you and reach out to you if they have any other questions.
Yeah, they can get the book through Amazon, The Struggle for World Sanity. It's on Kindle, print book, and audiobook. If they want to learn more about my master's organization, they can go to the aetherius.org, AETHE, or us.org. If they want to join our band, Valiant Band of Healers worldwide, they can go to 12blessings.org, the 12 being numerical. And also, I have my website now. If people want to learn more information, they can just go to Wajid Author, WAJID author.com.
Okay.
Awesome.
Great.
Well, again, thank you for being on with us. It was mind opening for me. And I'm sure Michelle was, again, it just amazes me when people like reach out to us and want to be on here with us, because we're still relatively small, and we appreciate anybody who gets on here to want to share their life, share their knowledge and experiences with us.
Absolutely. It was my real pleasure to be with you guys tonight. Thank you so much.
That was our guest, Wajid Hasan.
Yes.
Okay. Um, and yeah, I mean, his everything. I feel like for the most part that he was saying was so similar to our previous guest, Craig Lefebvre, who's also written a few books. And I mean, yeah, just that message of oneness and that we gotta be kind to each other. Damn it! What don't you understand? So yeah, I mean, I really appreciated what he had to say and his stories and sharing all that with us for sure.
Yeah, and again, like I said, my mind was blown again, I guess, because a lot of this information was stuff we'd heard with Craig, but there was some other stuff in there that was definitely um,
Different.
different. Yeah,
Yeah.
and my like I said, my head doesn't hurt nearly as much as it did with Craig, but
Yeah.
it was a lot of new information and a lot of stuff to absorb and think about. You know what I mean? Definitely having two people come on here who don't, as far
Know
as
each
I know,
other.
they don't know each other. Saying a lot of similar things, and I mean, it would make sense that they would, because I mean, if this is already, these are ideas that are out there, then of course, yeah, people are going to say the same things, because those it's like you get a Christian and you get another Christian, they're going to say the same
Yeah.
thing. So if you get two people who are like-minded, and it's I
But the
guess,
difference is it's not a religion though.
right, what I'm trying to get at, and I guess what the difference here is, it's two different cultures. He grew up in a completely different culture than what I'm assuming
Hmm.
Craig did, on completely different parts of the world at different times. Uh, they're not the same age. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just so many differences, and then to have the same ideas, similar experiences.
Hmm.
I just
Yeah.
there's too many like
It's valid.
coincidences
Yeah.
there.
I mean, it's like
To
I was telling him,
Yeah,
it's validating
right.
for sure.
So yeah, I mean,
What about you guys? What do you guys think? What do you
who
feel
cares
about
what they
these?
think? No, I'm joking.
No, I really do actually love when you guys shoot us DMs on Instagram or write a comment under it like, great
Hmm.
episode, loved it.
We
Even the
want to,
100% emoji, like, thank you, love
or
it.
especially the fire emoji.
Or fire, yeah, it'd be great.
Yeah,
You know what would be even better though is if you showed us that love on,
Apple Podcasts
yes, please.
reviews.
And I mean, yeah, you can just do like a simple like 5-star and that's it. But what's even better is when you have something nice and sweet to say so that I can read it on the podcast.
Because apparently we're lightweight narcissists and want to hear good things about ourselves.
No, we want to be able to get up higher in the ranks so that more people find the podcast so that we can share all these super awesome stories that you guys have with other people. Want to
which
find like-minded people.
which we have heard a couple of people say that they found us through Apple Podcast, which is
Yeah.
amazing, but we want to reach more people,
Yeah.
and we want more people to hear, again, because we like talking and we like for you to hear us talk, but because
I don't, but
you don't like for them to hear us talk.
I told you I don't even know why I started a podcast because I hate talking to strangers because of my my social anxiety and I hate the sound of my own voice, and yet here I am starting a podcast talking to strangers and listening to my own voice while I edit. But I do love doing this. I love talking. The thing is, I love talking about the paranormal, so I can move past those things to be able to talk about it.
Okay, so we love talking about the paranormal,
I love talking about
and
the paranormal. You love talking.
I do love talking, but when it's a topic that I enjoy, it's easier to
Yeah,
talk.
for sure.
You know what I mean? So, but also again, like having people on like Wajid and Craig to just, and even if you don't agree with it, just listening to it can open your mind to other things. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
For
Just
sure.
even if it's just peace, love, and positivity, man. Like even if you don't agree with what he's saying about other dimensions and planets being life on other planets in other dimensions, like if
Fine.
if all you take away from this is peace, love, and positivity, and love your neighbor, and just accepting people for who they are, like
That's great.
that's a win in
Yeah,
my eyes.
seriously.
Like that's a fucking win. Like
For sure.
don't agree with anything else, but if you take that away at least, then mission accomplished, I think.
For
you
sure.
know but I mean, do kind of keep your mind open to some of the other stuff that he said too, because I mean, why not?
I'm not lying when I say that a UFO over the stable makes way more sense than a star. So
Yeah.
that's just
So
my brain, sorry.
yeah, I mean, yeah, like I said, I'm glad he reached out. I'm glad we were able to talk to him, and again, if he is willing, I am more than happy to have him
For
on
sure.
again to go a little deeper into some of the things that you know he was discussing. Uh,
Yeah.
but if you guys want to contact us, want to share your stories, you can do that by going to our website, which is webelievedyou.com. You can go to the contact us section and type in your name or keep it anonymous. You can let us know your experiences. You can let us know that you want to be interviewed. You can also go to our social medias, get a hold of us there, like, comment, share everything, because that helps us get noticed. That helps us get out to more people. And don't forget to share your stories with us, guys, because we believe.
Do you?